for the Buccaneers, now I'm head coach. I got young minds that'll lift up and they flying coach. I had a hard life and I ain't made it, and I ain't think that I was gonna make it. Incarcerated, but I still made it. If Frank can make it, I know I'll make it. Everybody try to count me out, everybody want a handout. Used to be part-time, but them plays ain't play out. Got a second chance to do it right. Man behind the helmet, wear it tight. A long way from the street life, and I serve God before I serve life. A lot of y'all real shooters, but I got real leaders. Help me bulletproof, I can show the proof. And y'all can make your moves, bet you can't make me move. Bet you can't make me break down, I don't fight to lose. Had to show my peers, I ain't had no fear. Player of the year, I made it top tier. Murphy gon' put y'all on, Murphy gon' put y'all on, that's for sure. Murphy gon' put y'all on, Murphy gon' put y'all on, that's for sure. Murphy gon' put y'all on, Murphy gon' put y'all on, that's for sure.
Welcome to the Frank D. Murphy Show. I'm your host, Frank D. Murphy, aka Murph Time. And today's topic we're going to be discussing is high school sports helping save our next generation. But before I get into all the juicy stuff and the topic, I want to turn and holler at my girl Kay over here in the locker room. What's up, Kay? Okay, she there. I just want to make sure she there. And before we get started, I ain't no Laker fan. I just like Magic Johnson. I'm a Miami Heat fan, so we're just going to get that out the way right now. Let's jump right into this thing about high school, the programs getting cut in high school. A lot of programs are getting cut. And do that affect the kids, the youth from middle school, high school? Do they make their situation a lot harder because now they got more influence from their community or the streets than they have from doing their after school programs and things of that nature? So with these sports that being cut, do that make a difference, you think, Kay?
Oh my God, absolutely. Just with our last show that we did about the gun violence, you know, I mean, it forces students to be and kids to be back on the streets or more out on the streets and out getting the influence of outside versus getting the influence from being in home or from a coach. Because think about it, for yourself, you know, take yourself as an example. You're a well-renowned sports athlete. You know, thinking about that and thinking about where you came, how did high school sports and the coaches really shape you?
I think, you know, that's a good question. We deep in the interview now. So the high school coaches, I think, made a big difference, but it even started earlier. The Pop Warner coaches in Little League helped shape this. I remember our Pop Warner coach say, I want everybody to take a knee. And we sitting there thinking like, take a knee, okay, it's the middle of practice. And he say, I want to tell y'all something. Some of y'all will be in jail. Some of y'all will be selling drugs. Some of y'all will be on drugs, and some of y'all will even be dead. We laugh. And you know, okay, I look back 3 or 4 years later, most of those guys was dead, on drugs, selling drugs, or in prison. And I was one of those guys that was doing things such as that put me in a bad position to get incarcerated. But I began to think about the words that he spoke. He didn't mean the words to affect our lives, but he spoke them over us. So one thing that I try to do when I get around the next generation is speak words of encouragement. Not saying I won't be honest with them, but speak words of encouragement like, no, you will not go to jail. You will not end up in prison. You will not end up on drugs. You will not end up selling drugs. So that's what I try to do. I try to reverse that thing of what my coach, Pop Warner coach, said to us. So, you know, I think it's all about who you're around as well. And Pop Warner was real important to me being successful.
Wow. So you started off Pop Warner. I used to be a cheerleading coach for Pop Warner.
Oh, getting that plug. She getting that plug in there.
Yes. Yeah. So no, you're right, because it starts at that age. You know, you're a very, very, very young age, and to have those programs cut. Let me ask you, when you were during that time, were any of your programs ever cut?
No, honestly, yeah, a couple of programs was cut because I don't think the people that cut the programs, they didn't understand what it brought to the table for the kids and for the next generation. It brings friendships, leadership, discipline, confidence. It shows you how to be a team player. And it just teaches you, when you have good coaches or whoever over the program, teach you about good role models too, especially if that coach is a good role model. So I think they didn't think about all that. They was thinking about the money.
Right.
You know, hey, we're not going to have enough money to do this program, so we're going to cut it. Not thinking it's pushing the kids farther away into the streets. So. Did
you find that, you know, when the programs in your area were cut, you were more in the streets?
Yeah, I think that's a good one, because I think for even all of y'all, you got to know that the streets has a voice too. The streets is calling for your identity. And if there's no one else there that can call for your identity, the streets will win. And a lot of cases, you look in Chicago, you look in any city, but like Chicago and even Jacksonville, where I'm from, the streets call so loud. They have a voice, and the voice of the streets are saying, come roll with me. Come do some things with me. Come sell some drugs with me. You know, come rob with me. And it's no other voice but the street talking. Most likely they're going to listen to the street voice. So we need more role models. You know, if we're going to cut programs, we need more role models to step in and be a voice. So that's what I believe.
Ooh, that's crazy. Well, let's think about it on the positive scale, right? So let's think about if for the sports that are not being cut, and for the students that are in school, and just from your experience, what did sports teach you? Because look where you are now.
You know, that's a good question, Kay. I think sports is something that can really elevate who you are. It'll help you identify your purpose. Because a lot of times you need people around you to give you constructive criticism and help make and mold you to start making better decisions. If you're just out there by yourself and can't listen to nobody, you don't want to take constructive criticism, you think you know it all and you ain't really did nothing in the world yet, I mean, it's going to be hard for you to be successful in life. It's going to take a while for you to reach the point that you think you want to reach. I even think back when I was in high school, it even mattered what high school I went to. Yeah. I was at a high school where it was in a bad community, and it was totally different when I got kicked out of that high school. I won't say for what, but I got kicked out of that high school, and I had to go to a school out on the suburbs, and it was different. The atmosphere was different, how people acted, how the teachers treated you, and it helped me change. So I asked this same question: if you're going to cut programs, will you try to reinvest the money back into the schools to help the schools be more successful? With better teachers, with better programs, with better use of materials, because it's a big difference depending on what school you go to.
Right. So Frank, let me ask you, do you think, you know, in the years that you spent playing sports from Pop Warner, middle school, high school, do you think the students then are different than the students now? Or are we just reinventing the wheel?
It's one big repeat. That's why we know what's going to happen. That's why we're able to tell people that's younger than us, like, listen, this is what's going to happen if you don't make this decision. If you want to be successful, this is how you got to be successful. And I think maybe, and I was even like this growing up, when I would hear older people tell me, it don't matter if they was 4 years, 5 years older than me, they would say, hey, Frank, man, you need to stay off the streets, man. And I'm just thinking, like, stay off the streets for what? I'm making money. Like, how would I stay off the streets? You can't give me no money. I always found the excuse, and I think that's what our society do now. We find excuses to do what we want to do. And most times what we want to do is wrong. And when I started listening to positive influence, people like my coaches and stuff like that, that was within those programs, it made a big difference in my life, because it helped my mom, it helped my dad when they wasn't around. The most influence come from the high schools or the middle schools, because they with you most of the time. So those are things you have to think about when you think about taking programs out of schools.
Yeah. I mean, not even, you know, just listening to what you just said, I'm just thinking about the parents of these kids. You know, a lot of the parents work, or they're latchkey kids, or for what have you, whatever you want to call them. What do you think the next generation of parents, sports parents, are going to look like, or need to look like, in order for their children to be successful and to get to where you were and have been?
Okay, I see a lot of these parents, they like, they put pressure on their kids. Like in sports, if you don't make it, we don't make it. If you're not successful, we gonna get up out the hood. This is how parents talk to young men that I don't been around that play sports. Their parents put all this pressure on them to be successful. Then when the person don't be successful, they don't get drafted, they don't go to college, no teams want them. I mean, that's the pressure.
Yeah.
And that's why I even know taking the programs out can be real dangerous, because I even had a friend that played for a professional team in the NFL, and he tried to commit suicide because he felt like that nobody wanted him, because when a team didn't want him, he related that to nobody wanted him. See, when a team don't want you, that's because of your talents. So you can't say, you know, hey, they don't want me either. So he took it like that, and he tried to commit suicide. He put the gun to his chin, and he said that he just put his head back and said, God or Jesus, and it tilted and it blazed him right here, right, almost hit his nose.
Oh, wow.
And you would never think this guy, like when you meet this guy, you like, he got it together. You just like, what? You tried to kill yourself?
Yeah.
But you can never put value on truth.
Yeah.
Nobody was speaking truth in his life.
Yeah.
Everybody around him was speaking fantasy, like yes sirs and a bunch of yes mans, and when it all came down to it, they all ran when he didn't make it no more.
Right.
And that's one thing you have to watch in our day's society. Even me being here in the A and me living in Florida, it's totally different. It's like a circle of, like in Atlanta, it's like a circle of you either doing something and you important or not. There's no in between.
Yeah.
And so that forces people to live out that fake identity like we talked about before. It forces them to try to be something they're not. It forces them to even go into fields that they may not, that's illegal, just to make sure they stay up on game what everybody else is doing.
Right.
And that's the scary part about being in environments like that. But if we had better programs and other programs that was involved in the school, like we putting together an after school program, a mentorship program, because we feel like after school, that's when things get hot. Mm-hmm. You know, you frustrated from school, you went through this, you went through that, now you're going in the streets, now you're hanging out with this person, and then that peer pressure comes. So we're putting an after school program together just for that purpose.
Nice. And so the things that you're doing at your after school program, how is that preparing students for the real world? Because, you know, you think about sports and you think about how it all comes together, it builds the leadership, right? So how are you guys helping to help them become leaders?
Mentor Purpose, you know, one of our programs is called the Frank D. Murphy Curriculum, and it touches on anger, how to handle anger in certain situations, because anger can take you farther than what you would ever want to go and put you in places you never wanted to be. So we talk about finances. This is all life skills that you have to have. You can make straight A's in school, but you have no life skills, you're probably going to end up failing down the road anyway.
Absolutely.
So you have to balance it out with education and life skills. So we talk about those type of things. Even what's abuse, how to handle abuse. A lot of people have been abused in their life before. Right. And I think if we have more programs, we can spot the kids that's being abused and we can do something about it. But the less programs, the less time you see these kids, and now they go right back into their society or their bad environment, and it's just on repeat.
Right.
So.
Right. One thing that I like that it sounds like you guys are trying to do is you're trying to build the leadership versus toughness. You don't want to make them tough. You want to make them leaders. And if the toughness comes along with it, then so be it, right?
Well, you can't be tough, you know, all the time and think you're a real leader.
Right.
My son, for instance, he plays football. He's getting looked at by Miami, USF, all type of schools. And I remember one time I say, man, you need to just be a better leader. So he went out there, he's yelling at everybody. Because he didn't know what leader mean. He's yelling at everybody, catch the ball, do this, do that. I'm like, I was so embarrassed. I say, this boy here is yelling at these people, kids. So when it was over, I pulled him to the side and I say, what are you doing? And then I had to think, nobody taught him how to be a leader. So he just was going off what he's seen on TV. So I had to teach him, no, you encourage people. You tap them and say, good job, you'll get it next time. Right. So the next game, I see him out there encouraging people. Right. And they're playing better for them. So with that, we have to teach as well. Right. So if the programs get taken out, it put more pressure on the parents and the coaches to teach more.
Right.
And we can't be lazy. A lot of times we become lazy when we ask for the pressure to come on us to help be involved in these young people's lives. Right. But then when they actually come, we like, I don't have no time. Right. And that's what I noticed in this generation, even the generation with me and even they're lazy. Just being honest, this is a lazy. I don't want to be successful. I went to Beyonce concert a while back and And I looked at them, Beyonce and Jay-Z, and I say, man, look how hard they work. I don't think people understand how hard they work behind the scenes. And I've been behind the scenes of a lot of movies and a lot of music videos and all that stuff, and I see how hard they work. And that's one thing I think we take for granted, how hard somebody works. They think you just show up and it's success. Man, I've worked 11 years before I got to the NFL. I played football for free, my body, my mind, for 11 straight years until I got drafted. That's a long time.
That's a very long time.
So if you think about it from that standpoint, everything takes time. And that's the things we want to teach our next generation because of the programs leaving the school. That's what we want to teach them.
Right, right. God, it's amazing. It's just amazing to hear the strength and the dedication that has gone into not only just yourself, but every other celebrity or person of professionalism. You know, it takes consistency to do something over and over again. You listen to what you said. You said you did it without getting paid for it. What person in today's society, right? We're talking about your generation. What person in this generation is going to go to work for no money?
And I tell you what, if that's the mentality, they'll never be successful, because that means that's not your passion.
Right.
You know, I tell people, like, you got to know the difference between your purpose and your passion.
Right.
A lot of athletes wake up and say, this is my passion. I'm going to play in the NFL, I'm playing the NBA, and they never make it. See, passion will take you way off from your purpose.
Right.
So you have to know your purpose before you know your passion. Because if you know your purpose, then now you put that passion up under your purpose, and it drives you to push your purpose.
Right.
People doing the opposite.
Right.
I'm going to go to my passion because it look popular, it look fun, it look like everybody like people that play sports.
Right.
So then I'm going to go there. And they don't know their purpose. Their purpose sitting here like, okay, I'll be here when you get back. And you go in one big circle for a year, then 2 years, then 3 years, and you feel like you waste your life.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I try to tell people within our program. We got to identify what's your purpose. And it may not be what you think. It may not even be what you like at first. But when you tap into it, like, I turned down a contract. I never forget, they called me, offered me a contract. I ain't never turned down no money. And I love football. Right. So I said, I'm going to take it. Called my agent, put the deal together, I'm good. They was like, all right, you fly out tomorrow. I said, okay, cool. Then I went back into my office, and I seen the kids that I was mentoring. And I was just looking at them, and I was like, dog, I'm finna leave them. Yeah. And that's all people have ever done, left them. I say, man, you know what? I'm in my purpose now. Right. Football was an avenue and a platform, but it wasn't my purpose. Right. It was a place that put me in position. And I said, you know what? I called the GM back and said, you know, I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna take the deal. He was like, what? Y'all trying to negotiate more money? He was like, no. I was like, no, I just have to finish what I started here. And he was kind of upset at first, then he started to commend me. He's like, man, thank you, because those kids are gonna be very happy. So I went back and didn't take the deal and mentor the kids, and I was like, y'all getting on my, no, gave up all this money. Nah, but I loved every bit of it. It was worth it. I believe that's why you can be successful, because money don't dictate your decisions. And that's what we teach in different programs. Don't let money dictate your decision. I don't turn down a lot of money. And at times I didn't have a lot of money, and I still turned down money because I knew who I was. And I think a lot of times if you don't know who you are, you can be swayed any way, any shape and form. So that's one thing I'll say about that. You know, understanding who you are will get you a long ways. Because the reason why I teach that, because I think when you don't have a program, how will you build yourself up? Right. And that's what we teach people, how to build themselves up. Because without others, they won't be able to make it. And that's not the life you want to live.
Well, Frank, let me ask you, since you brought it up, I'm just going to ride with it.
Let's ride.
Your purpose. Played football for a ton of years. You did, like you said, you did Pop Warner, and then you did high school sports. How did you find that purpose? How did you know? Beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Football?
No. What your purpose is now, mentoring.
You know what? The first two things that I did, as I can remember me growing up, was I was in the backyard like I'm speaking to a crowd. I would always do that. And the second thing was play football. So I knew them two ran together, but then the street life came in, and then I got away from both of them. But that football program kept calling me back. And that's what kept me from going even deeper into the street life. I was in there, but I could have went farther, but I cared about playing football. I've cared about that program that they had at the high school. And it saved my life. And I tell people all the time that the NFL saved my life because it helped me make better decisions that I wanted to make. I wanted to make some wrong decisions, but I was like, if I do that, or if I grant my homeboys to do this, it can come back on me, and then I will never be able to play football again in my life. So the NFL really helped save my life, and I always tell the teams that drafted me or brought me in as a free agent, I always tell them thank you. I really appreciate you believing in me. Even if it was for a year or 3 years, I'm grateful because there's millions of people trying to play NFL, but only 2,500 in the world get chosen.
That's right.
And there's new people coming in every year, every week.
Yes,
So I think for me, programs were so important to help making and molding who I am today. You got one more question?
One more
What you
question.
got? You got one more?
Question for you. But you know what? This is kind of, it's a little different. It's not really about, schools being, the programs being taken away. It's about the students and the kids that are playing these sports being exploited. Because earlier we mentioned about parents who, if you don't make it, we don't make it, right? So how do we stop parents from exploiting their children and forcing them to play these sports and get hurt and suffer from all types of brain injuries just so that they can make it?
I think this is a hard question to answer. The reason why, because you have to go back. You have to go way back and see what they went through, what trauma they went through to even make them think that their son or daughter has to make it for them to make it.
Right.
So that's the first thing. But beyond that, I think we have to educate. It's something about education. And I'm not talking about school education. I'm talking about life skills, man. Just sitting down with a parent and saying, if you go about it X, Y, and Z, you do it this way, then you can find out your son or your daughter can be more successful, and then it won't break them. Because these young men are depressed. If you heard in the NBA that all these players, several players came out of the NBA and say they're depressed. I'm talking about they make $10 million a month, and they depressed. They got everything that they want that they can buy, and they say they depressed all the time, and they think about suicide. So I think if you don't have a solid foundation, that's the direction that you're head. So for the parents, if they don't have a solid foundation, they'll push their kids right into depression. And that's one thing that I think we have to talk about more to the parents and teaching them how to be new role models to their kids. Yeah,
and taking away the role models from the professionals and putting it back on the parent.
exactly.
Absolutely.
But but even if, when you have parents that don't know, they just don't know. So people, it's a village. So people like myself with a platform, other athletes, I don't care if they go to college or they're a professor or they're a doctor, you have a platform and you have a duty to reach back and grab two and teach them what you learn, because they might not have a mother or father that even went that far in education to teach their kids.
That's true.
So you have to do that. It's going to be either going to be one or two things you're going to do in life. And I say this all the time, you're either going to do 4 years in prison or 4 years in college. You're going to do running for freedom or running for a touchdown or a degree. It's your choice. You're going to be breaking the law, or you can choose to break records at whatever you do. Maybe this today that you think about exactly what's your purpose. That way you can stop leaning on the shoulders of the fake. When you lean on the shoulders of the fake, you're going to get fake answers, and then you're going to get fake results. I want y'all to think about that. And while I'm closing, I'm going to talk about the next topic. The next topic we'll be talking about is the pressure that's on professional athletes. How do we handle the pressures that's being put on professional athletes? That's our next topic. But to take us home, you got anything else to say before we get up out of here?
No, Frank, I'm just happy that we got a chance to discuss this today, because this was huge.
Well, y'all remember, knowing your purpose is like knowing your name. Not knowing your purpose is like not knowing your name. I just said that two different ways. You got to know your purpose to know who you are and know your name. Because if you don't know your purpose, it's just like not you knowing your name. This your boy, Frank D. Murphy. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on the Frank D. Murphy Show. Gone.
Riffy gon' put y'all on. Riffy gon' put y'all on. That's for sure. Riffy gon' put y'all on. Riffy gon' put y'all on. That's for sure. Riffy gon' put y'all on. Riffy gon' put y'all on. That's for sure. Riffy gon' put y'all on. Riffy gon' put y'all on.